Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 1 of Wildcard Cinema. I don't know how I have any energy right now, but we're doing this. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I would advise you to watch episode 0. Otherwise, we'll just catch up really quick. Co-host with me, I'm your, I'm the producer here at Full Circle Radio Network, JJAlexander. With me on this journey are my longtime friends, Mark and Greg.
Hey.
And we laid out all the ground rules in episode 0, but, we'll see how it catches up. We all have our movies that we chose 2 weeks ago. We have all viewed them, reviewed them, whatever have you. I know I've taken my notes. So here's the way we're going to go is before we do each one, I will play the movie trailer just to familiarize. And then it will be going to the person who chose the movie is dealer's choice, whether they want to reveal at the beginning why they chose it or after we give our thoughts why they chose it. So as we started last week, Greg was the first one to go. So let's just jump right into it. The first movie we are reviewing today is Meet the Feebles.
I'm a fishy little fella with a tiny sort of skin and a hole in the shallows with a tiny happy thing.
So, you want to join the Feebles?
Oh, rather. Meet the Feebles! Meet the Feebles!
Meet the Feebles. The movie that began as family entertainment, but went horribly wrong.
Have you got any smack? Smack?
The film the authorities tried to stop.
Oh, what beautiful white fur. God, my dear.
The story that rocked the puppet world.
This is a family show, for Christ's sake.
Sex.
I'm hot, Bletch, but not the way you think.
Drugs. Animal husbandry.
Why did you bring it here? It's not mine. You know it's not.
We'll let the court decide that, shall we? Garden of love.
Meet the Feebles turns the cabbage patch into the killing fields.
Funny little sandhopper
It's
basking
fun.
in the sun. Dancing in the hopping has lots of fun. A bit of sand landing in that hopper's eye.
It's
Sand
thrilling.
sitting by
It's contagious.
It's the big one, Harry.
No, it can't be. I've taken precautions.
Corruption.
Barry, do me a line.
Lust.
Feeling shy, are you, Bletch?
Light romance. From the director of Bad Taste.
Did you realize you were sitting on its face?
No, I felt a bit uncomfortable, but I thought it was my hemorrhoid.
Please, God, I know I've been a bad bunny, but if you make me
Nothing
well again,
is sacred.
Meet the Feebles! Meet the Feebles! Meet the Feebles!
Meet the Feebles is about to be released on you.
Have you ever noticed the beautiful lighting in this toilet?
Okay. All right. So, dealer's choice, Greg. Are you going to tell us why you chose this before or after? Oh, shit. Sorry. My bad. There we go. You're still what? I have you unmuted and you're still muted. Check your little thing there to make sure you don't have the mute key on. Now say something. We can't hear you, bro. Maybe just unplug that thing and just use your regular mic.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
Sorry for the hiccup.
That's okay.
Oh yeah, I think I'll wait till after.
Okay. So I just want to give the warning before we get into this for everyone viewing. Spoilers ahead. In case you have not seen these movies and don't want them spoiled, well, sorry, you came to the wrong place. Okay, so I'll just give a little backstory on this, just a little tidbits. Meet the Feebles is written by Fran Walsh and Stephen Sinclair, directed by Peter Jackson, starring Mark Hadlow, Ross Jolly, and Peter Veer Jones. Was run on a budget of $750,000. Its box office in New Zealand was 80,000, so it lost money. I think.
I wonder why.
I think it found its calling on home video later on. It was actually not released in the U.S. on home video until 1995.
Wow.
So yeah, like 6 years later, and the film, ever since its release and to this day, is still banned in Ireland. Okay, so I've got a bunch of notes. Do you want to go first, Mark, or should I start reading off stuff?
You can go first.
Okay, so these are my thoughts on it. I've seen this movie several times before. It's always been it's been like one of those guilty pleasures. The amount of effort they had to put into the what do you call it? The hippo running in high heels along the riverfront just amazes me. I didn't much appreciate Greg choosing a movie with a song entitled "I've Got One Leg Missing" in it.
Yeah, I do not remember that at all.
It's okay.
I didn't even make that connection.
The golfing scene literally reminded me of a fight scene from an episode of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
It's for some of those outfits, I feel like they bought secondhand from the Japanese show that they yanked all the action sequences for Power Rangers from. I always forget Super Saiyan Force or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them look like that. What do you call it? Aside from the movie undoubtedly jump-starting the furry movement, there are so many fetishes that are alluded to in this film. The more times you watch it and the more times you see it. And yeah, because I mean, I actually went to a furry con once because my roommate went and I got dragged along. And I'm surprised that like this movie doesn't have more of a following there. I mean, maybe it does now because this was 25 years ago. So, what was it? There's someone like Robert the Hedgehog in every stage production. Am I right, Mark?
Yeah.
Right? No matter what.
So accurate.
High school community theater, doing shit at the Warner. Like, there's always someone like Wobbit. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. A reenactment of the Deer Hunter with puppets never gets old. And apparently everyone in this universe is an animal except for the insanely racist Hindu stereotype.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's an animal. It's like, oh, no. The contortionist is semi-human. And just my thoughts in general. That I think without this movie, there's so many things would not have happened later on. I don't think we would get things like Greg the Bunny. or that I never watched it, but the Happy Time Murders. I think it also, like, in a weird roundabout way, gave permission for the Muppets to do some more adult stuff later on in the 90s and 2000s, like not insanely over the top, but you could tell they were giving a little more jabs in there to nods to the parents and not to the children.
Okay.
And out of Peter Jackson's original first three movies, I rank this in the middle. Dead Alive is still my top one, and I was never really a fan of Bad Taste. I've watched it. It is what it is. It's not that big on it. But yeah, it's good to watch once in a while. It's good to, like, subject people to. It's a good party drinking game. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on it in general. What about you, Mark?
Okay, I had a really hard time making it through this movie.
Really?
I've never seen it before.
Oh, okay.
It was always like one of those weird, like, I remember seeing it at the video store and thinking, oh, that looks really super weird. And then I heard from other people how, like, disturbing it was, and I just never got around to seeing it. So, on the good side, the puppets look amazing.
Yeah.
Although the puppeteering does that thing I hate, which is a hallmark of, like, amateur puppetry, where both the upper and lower parts of the puppet's mouth move when they speak.
Yeah.
Instead of just the bottom jaw, which is something you will never see, like, with the Muppets and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. This movie was made in such a spirit of, like, ugliness,
yes,
and poor taste that I am shocked that anyone in their right mind would watch this and then willingly give Peter Jackson the reins to the entire Lord of the Rings movie franchise.
Well, you figured there was a gap of over a decade.
If I was a producer looking for a director and somebody showed me this movie, his name would be crossed right off the list. Because I'd have been too afraid that he would make, like, Gandalf a heroin junkie, or Frodo a sleazy male prostitute, or one of those things.
You see, you've got to divide up, because this was Jackson's early work, but when people looked at him for Lord of the Rings, they looked at the Frighteners, which that's what got his foot in the door on the Lord of the Rings stuff. And really, the Frighteners, it's completely different from his first few films. Like, these were all independent, done in New Zealand. Like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna, I don't think I'm ever gonna make it past, the South Pacific, never thinking he was going to be a Hollywood director.
Yeah.
So of course you got to go balls out.
Yeah. And he did.
It is very mean spirited. Like, it's kind of like it kind of feels that you kind of feel that way at the end that you do after watching Very Bad Things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you've, like, it's that same feeling.
Yeah. Like, I need a shower.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, I mean, I guess, one thing I liked about it was its editing. It's really kinetic and chaotic, and almost, like, disorienting to watch. I thought that was pretty well done. I liked that the celebrity impressions that they put in there, like the crocodile was Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
And Bletch sounded to me like John Huston, and stuff like that. Would I ever watch this again voluntarily? No. And that's my review.
All right, Greg. So give us your 2 cents and the reason you chose.
Okay, so the reason I chose it, I had been watching a YouTube video that literally the night before we did episode 0. I had been kind of moving movies around the list to choose, and it was on this list. I don't know what the list actually was. I can't remember, but I said, oh, that's an interesting movie to put on a list like this. actually really happy Mark had never seen it, even though, you know, wasn't a huge fan. That's okay. Why I chose it in relation to having seen it before and then seeing it on the list. This movie, you know, Mark's comment actually is perfect because he says if I was looking for a director to direct Lord of the Rings, I would not pick Peter Jackson. This movie actually does the opposite for me. If I was looking at directors, this movie for me, I had Mark's reaction kind of the first time I saw it. I saw it in college about 21 or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I felt like he did. I was like, what is this? Can we swear on here? I didn't.
Yes.
I said, what the fuck is this? Like, this is insane. It is very gross and off-putting, ugly, like you say, 100%. Especially 21 years ago. I mean, now it's a little tamer, which makes kind of weird sense. I don't know. After seeing it again, because this is the second time I've seen it. I have not seen it since 21 years ago.
Oh wow.
To the point where I actually have a DVD of it, and I said, "Oh, I'll just use my DVD to watch it," and it looks like complete shit, even if with the upscaling and everything else. So
Yeah.
I had to use your account and watch
my
it.
copy is they just recently released it in 4K, and that's the 4K release.
Yeah, and it looks much better. I mean, does it look 4K? I don't know. I would say that. I mean, it looks
Right.
much
I mean,
better.
it's funny they do a whole 4K restoration. It's still only in 4:3 format.
Yeah. Which I understand. I mean, I think they had to shoot. They probably had to shoot it in 4:3, so I get it. But
yeah.
But in any case, it looks much better. But this movie, I'm going to compare it to something that it should not be compared to because this movie is almost perfect. Meet the Feebles is not almost perfect. I look at this sort of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, only in that you see clear evidence that this person knows what they're doing and can direct the hell out of a movie with zero budget. Obviously Texas Chainsaw and Meet the Feebles, wildly different budget, wildly different time. But there are shots in Texas Chainsaw where you are just like, holy shit, like this person can, if they wanted to, make The Godfather. I mean, well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I watch Meet the Feebles and I say, yeah, Peter Jackson can make pretty much anything. There was a shot I remember 21 years ago in my head that I don't think I saw exactly rewatching it, where he pans up a staircase during the beat backstage, but I don't think that actually existed. I think I might be remembering that wrong.
Mandela affecting it.
Probably. But I still do see the evidence of the directing. There's actually a shot where he zooms into the still picture of the hippo. I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
And it goes into the flashback.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff like that. It's like, wow, like it's really talented directing. So, you know, story aside, grossness aside, yes, it's like, you know, it obviously is the Muppets taken to the most extreme level possible. Did you have to go to that extreme? Probably not. You could still probably get the point across. Like Joe said, obviously Greg the Bunny does not exist without this movie. That's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Same here.
Criminally canceled after one season. If you told a network 7 years ago you could have a show with Eugene Levy and Seth Green and Sarah Silverman on it, they would be creaming their pants. They would want that show on their network.
To this day, that is the only vehicle that I enjoy Sarah Silverman in.
Yeah, I like Sarah Silverman's show, but you know,
I'm not a fan.
To digress, I mean, but yeah, I mean, you also said the Muppets do a little bit more adult stuff after, you know, obviously. I like their ABC show. I know people weren't fans of it. I was.
I liked it. The most recent one, the one that was kind of like The Office.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
And I like Muppets Tonight too.
Yeah. So you know,
hell yeah.
And as far as the movie itself, I mean, I actually enjoyed it more than I did 21 years ago. Like Mark, would I ever pull it out again? I mean, I don't know if I'd watch it regularly or anything. I think they're going to release it in 4K. I don't.
They did.
Yeah. Well, on disc, I mean.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. This 4K Steelbook is out.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah, it came out within the past few months.
Okay, would I grab that? I don't think so. Probably not. But I did enjoy it much more this time. Yeah. The only thing I had a note of actually with things I thought were off-putting to me, because actually the big disease.
Oh yeah.
That I won't get into totally, but I actually thought, having only seen it once, that character actually did have that. So
oh yeah,
actually worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
In the end, but the media person being the Fly was a little off-putting.
Always eating shit. Yeah.
So I have a journalistic background. I have a journalism degree, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I get it if it's like a scumbag, and some people are, but and then I thought the Deer Hunter flashback, very amazing. I did think there was an Asian stereotype puppet in there that was a little over.
Yes, yeah.
But overall, I actually really had a lot of fun in going back watching this. I'm kind of probably in between. Well, I don't know. I understand Mark's, feeling on it, because that would be probably most people's feeling on it. But actually, for me, just going back watching it, I actually thought it was, a much better movie content-wise than I thought it was after having seen it the first time. And the craftsmanship still all there. Puppets, directing, everything, excellent.
Yeah.
So
one last note that I forgot to mention is I think the reason I like this one, this doesn't disturb me as much. I mean, besides the fact of how disturbed I am as a person, is this is actually a little dialed back from something that came before it that you can tell Peter Jackson took from. And if you ever feel the need to watch something more warped in the same vein, came out in the late 70s. It was called Let My Puppets Come.
Okay.
It's on the Drive. That's where he got the idea for this.
Yeah, I'm gonna rush out and watch that right now.
But also, if you there was an independent film studio here in Connecticut that actually did a puppet slasher movie a few years back called Head, which is actually pretty decent. That's on the Drive as well. I have the DVD of that from the studio release. I was there for the premiere. That's actually it's done really well. It's literally like Friday the 13th, but done with puppets. It's worth a watch, and it's only like 70 minutes long, I think. But yeah, it's in the same.
Oh, that's the other thing I had. This movie was so long, you guys. It's longer than the other two movies that we watched. Like, why is it so long? It should have been like, get in, get out. This thing was.
Because it had a bunch of different subplots going on. You had the adultery subplot. You had the drug dealing subplot. You had the paparazzi. You had the rabbit dying of syphilis. Yeah, like.
Well, when I read about all the production problems and the budgetary problems, I was like, oh, this is gonna be super short. Probably we're looking at like 90 minutes because they just didn't have the budget to make a long movie, and I was wrong.
I mean, $750K in 1989 is, it's like $2 million today, but still, like, that's a pretty low budget.
I will say, actually, though, that this movie actually is the shortest we watched this week. It's only 97 minutes.
Really?
It might have felt like 137 minutes, but it is only 97 minutes.
Oh, you know what though? I watched it on YouTube. There's the really good. I guess it's the 4K version.
It is
super good. And maybe with all the ads, it just added.
That's why. Yeah. That's why you need to just go to the Drive, Mark. That's why it's there. But for those viewing or listening at home, this is a little tidbit that we will add that I will add for every movie. If you are interested in viewing it, it is currently available on YouTube for free and the Internet Archive. And I will be putting those links down below for easy access, just because they're free links. They're right there. No subscription service. So if you really want to watch them, you've got that chance. Okay. So let us move on to rolling right along. Let's move on to the next one, which was Mark's choice, which was the Donner cut of Superman 2. And for this, I actually, because there was never actually a trailer made for it, I found something to go along with it. So I'm just going to load that up. Share screen. Where are you? There we are.
Don't miss Marvel Animation's X-Men.
Done by working together as a team.
Jeez.
Screw you, YouTube.
Hi, I'm Dick Donner, or as they would like to say, Richard Donner, because it's a Richard Donner film. But Dick, my friends call me Dick, and I consider everybody out there a friend right now because you people asked for and waited to see my version of Superman 2. But if you hadn't asked, if you hadn't requested it, I don't think it would have ever seen the light of day. I thought it would lay in the vaults of Europe and never surface again. Because of all your requests and all your asking, it came to be. But over the past 3 decades, much has happened. Most of all, I got gray hair. I didn't have one when I started. But much of my film had been lost. It was, as I said, in vaults and misplaced as films happened to be. And a lot of film was ruined, but through really good research and hard work, every bit was found that I had shot. But some of the film you're going to see in Superman 2, I didn't shoot. The producers felt they wanted to bring another director in. And so he shot some of the film you're going to see. But nonetheless, here's Superman 2 with as much of my work as could be salvaged. So thanks to Warner Brothers. Thanks to all of you people for making all this possible. And thank you, Michael, for reconstructing my film as close to the original version as I intended it to be. I just got a kick out of seeing it, something I never thought would happen. It was quite emotional, quite exciting. 30 years. Hope you all enjoy it.
All right, Mark, dealer's choice.
I'll let you guys go. I'll explain it at the end.
Okay, Greg, I'm going to give you the floor first.
Okay. Well, sarcastically, I have to thank Mark for picking Superman 2, the Donner cut, because he made my viewing not 3 movies this week, but 5 movies. If you are sick and twisted like my brain is, I had to rewatch Superman 1 and 2 and the Donner cut just to get a grasp on everything. I also wanted to see it in 4K, so it set me back about $100. So also thank you. Although I did find it on Prime Day a couple days later and rebought and resent it back.
I was going to say, everything I've got on the drive is in 1080p. It's the best I can do.
Yeah, which definitely I'll use, but it's sometimes if there's the disc option, I'll go with it. I had the Blu-rays, so I said let me upgrade and rewatch. But in any case, just joking around there. But so
luckily I had actually rewatched the first Superman like 2 weeks prior, just on a random night, and it was the remastered version that's like 4.5 hours long.
Oh wow, okay. I didn't go that far.
Yeah.
I will touch on Superman 1 really quickly. I think it's a perfect film for halfway through it. It kind of gets I don't know, a little bit messy the second half, but anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Donner cut. So
oh shit. Sorry to cut you off, Greg. Just the little snippets before we start. Yeah, my bad. Superman 2, the Donner cut, written by Mario Puzo and David and Leslie Newman, directed by Richard Donner, obviously. Original budget was $54 million. The Donner cut was released on home video November 28th, 2006. Go ahead.
Sure. So, yeah, I basically watched both cuts back to back. I pretty much wrote out every scene of the regular Superman 2, outlined it just so I would know exactly where the differences lay.
I could have directed you to a couple YouTube videos that just do that for you.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. It was a good experience. I liked it, but I will say they could have just. I read that Richard Donner actually didn't assemble this cut of the movie, even though it's called the Donner cut. They actually could have called it the Marlon Brando cut because, I don't know. I read about what Brando made on Superman 1, $3.9 million, and at 11.5% back end, which netted him $19 million for 12 days of work and 20 minutes of screen time. And he also wouldn't memorize the dialogue, so they had cue cards all over the place, which is typical Brando.
Notorious.
I mean, if you can get that work, 20 million for 12 days, more power to you. I know Superman was a real big risk, even though they shot both movies back to back. It's a big risk, so you want Brando, you want Gene Hackman. You're going to pay up for that. You want Mario Puzo writing the scripts. I get all of that. So, I understand that. So I don't know if that led to Marlon Brando being excised from Superman 2. They didn't want to pay him more money. I don't really know.
They didn't want him to get the back end of that too. That too. Yeah.
Is that
that's the exact reason. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I figured. That makes sense. So yeah. So I almost don't even see it as like a Donner cut. I see it as like we wanted to get Brando out of this thing. We had to retool it a little bit. So because of that, we had to change some things. Because most of the movie is pretty similarly. I will say the Donner cut is the better one. I mean, if you're going to watch one or the other, watch that. The only huge difference is Superman going to Paris for terrorists, and I don't even know why they would send Lois Lane there. makes not a lot of sense.
I mean, has any like Lois Lane mission from the Daily Planet ever made sense in any Superman medium?
This is true, but that one, obviously it stuck out. But it made much more sense that like Zod and them escaped the Phantom Zone from a missile he threw up the first movie. It makes a lot of sense when you watch one and Donner cut together. They flow way more seamlessly. Definitely, they work better. I also, watching both movies though, both cuts, I actually feel bad for Superman, and I'll tell you why. My biggest issue is he gives up his powers for his love, and while it is a little soon. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how long he'd been working at the Daily Planet, and because it's not really explicitly told to the first two movies. So he loves Lois Lane. Okay, I get that. I mean, sure. But he gives up his powers, and the first thing he does is somehow get his ass kicked by a guy in a diner, which I don't think that guy's kicking Christopher Reeve's ass either way. And I don't care if he's Superman or not. Christopher Reeve is like a Hulk of a dude. I mean, he is tall. He's ripped regardless. That guy can punch him all he wants. I don't think he's really falling to the ground or anything. But he says, I think we need to hire bodyguards. And she says, I don't want a bodyguard. I want the man I fell in love with, which is not Clark Kent then. So what did she fall in love with? Superman, period. And him giving up his powers, I don't even understand, other than the Mallrats line where Superman can, blow up. I mean, why did he give up his powers then? I mean, if that unless that's the only thing.
Because if he chose the love of one human over protecting the entire human race, that he can't have both. That's basically the whole thing.
Oh, I do remember that now from them saying that. Yes, so I kind of missed that only because I guess I was so crushed for Clark. I'm like, sorry, dude, I feel bad for you, man. Like so. But yeah, like I said, much better than the theatrical cut, just because it actually just feels more natural. You can definitely see where they were like, all right, we got to get Brando out of here. We'll change certain things, but for the most part, things are the same. The Donner cut does edit some of the scenes in a better way, I think. The theatrical cut is like, okay, we're here, we have the whole scene. The Donner cut is like, we're here, we have half the scene or a third of the scene, we cut to something else, we cut back. So it's just a little more edited, a better edited film. I did think the one really thing I liked way more in the Donner cut is after Superman and Lois finally bone for the first time.
Consummate.
She's wearing a Superman t-shirt afterwards and not lingerie, which I thought was way cooler. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like,
So, yeah, it was cute.
Yeah, much cuter. I actually will say too, I think Margot Kidder is really cute the entire all the movies. Definitely a good Lois Lane. Although I am looking forward to Rachel Brosnahan because I need to see Miss Maisel as a Lois Lane. Perfect casting also, I will add. That's about all I have.
Better than Amy Adams.
Yeah, yes. That's all I have for Superman.
All right, let me pull up my notes here because I've got.
Oh, while you're pulling them up, I do have one more thing.
Go right ahead.
The rewinding time with the circling the planet yet again. I mean, that could be a joke for the new movie. They could just do that 5 times or something.
Yeah, right.
It's a little too much of a bailout, but yeah, again, good movies, especially for the time. I actually thought the VFX, not having seen it in a while, looked a lot worse than they do. They actually, Superman flying in the first movie, the first half of it especially, looks really real. So it's pretty good. So yeah, fun time. Good choice.
All right. Okay, so I'm just going to preface this because I grew up watching all the Superman movies on home video. And as a kid growing up, Superman 2 was kind of my least favorite. Just being 6-7 years old. Superman 2 really wasn't my bag. That being said, years later and watching the Donner cut, I loathe this fucking movie. I have so many notes. I'm sitting there pausing it and writing my notes, and literally I went full CinemaSins first off. 3.5 minutes of opening credits. That just got. And now, mind you, like I said, I had just watched Superman 1 a couple weeks earlier, which had the entire trial scene with Zod and everything before that. So I was just like, if you put it in the director's cut of 1, you don't need to put it in the Donner cut of 2 because it was already in 1. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I actually I think the Donner cut does a better job of that. If you watch the theatrical, they show you the whole movie of Superman 1 through the credits.
I know they do the recap, but yeah.
It's which I was like, well, I didn't even have to watch the first movie.
It's one of those both versions are at fault.
They're both
at fault. Yeah, they're both at fault in this, and there's a few of those things in here that I'm going to point out that they're both at fault. Let's see here. The whole thing with the Paris bombing and the Eiffel Tower, that was actually the only part that I enjoyed originally. And they took it out because this is my problem. Okay, this is my problem. So it's the whole travel thing of Kal-El's satellite and the Phantom Zone, and all of a sudden in the Donner version they're bouncing off each other and it's just but then all of a sudden it's boom, he's on Earth and the Phantom Zone's still hovering around Saturn for the next 35 years or whatever. And then here comes the missile and he takes the missile out over by the rings of Saturn and boom, it shatters it. And then they fly from Saturn to the moon in 10 minutes, but then it takes them 3 days to get from the moon down to Earth. The continuity issues in this movie with the Donner cut are fucking insane. Okay, the thing with having the whole Paris bombing and Lois and everything was it set things further out. it set things out to be like, okay, this is at least a few months later. That's what it felt like. Whereas with the Donner cut, it's literally 2 days later. It's been a couple of days, and all of a sudden, within 72 hours, Lex Luthor has been tried, convicted, is in Gen Pop, is bald, and already has a plan to escape, already has a projector built. In 72 hours, he may be the greatest criminal mind, but there's no possible way that anything can happen. And I know we're in a movie where we're talking about an alien that can fly at 2 days at a time. Because timeline continuity, that shit don't work.
I want to add, Lex's bald cap is one of the worst things I've seen on screen.
Yes.
It's glaringly terrible.
Yes.
They even cover his sideburns. It's like he couldn't even
Right.
shore up the sideburns. He was like, no.
Yep. Lois's dialogue in the Daily Planet at the beginning, her opening dialogue is 80s sitcom levels of cheesy. The what do you call it? And the jump out of the window just felt mean-spirited. Like her doing the thing at Niagara Falls, like jumping into the river, bye-bye baby, and all that stuff to try to test him, seemed a lot more realistic than her just being at the office in front of everyone. And I guess Lois Lane's just suicidal now. Just boom. Oh no, there's a fruit cart. Like you're in front of, like, I'm sorry, that would be like headline news all over the place. The top reporter of the Daily Planet decides to off herself. Just like it, and just the whole thing with the Sharpie and the fucking newspaper. She's like, oh yeah, definitely. Like, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, seriously. And okay. Here's what we're supposed to believe in the matter of, say 72 hours, Lex Luthor is tried. Also, we're supposed to believe that within being incarcerated for less than 48 hours, Lex has already constructed I already said that. The black box, yada, yada. Yeah, he constructed the projector and the black box to find fucking the Fortress of Solitude in 72 hours. So Superman can fly into outer space to launch a missile somewhere around the rings of Saturn, come back within minutes. But it took General Zod and the others 3 days to fly from the moon to Texas. None of this makes any sense. The original scene where Lois falls into the water and Clark, that's what I meant. The original scene where Lois falls into the water and Clark rescues her has a much better effect than the one set up in the cut where they use the screen test with the fake gunshot. There's a reason that entire scene wasn't used in the theatrical version, because that's just fucking mean-spirited. It's like, oh, I'm just going to shoot you. No. Oh, but they're blanks. Like, what does that prove? Like, I'm sorry, but if you're firing a blank at me and I still stand there because I don't feel anything, yeah, because it was a fucking blank. That proved nothing. It made a lot more sense for him to do the trip into the fire and not get burned and her go, oh shit. It felt more natural. I didn't like that at all. Let's see here. It's just wrong to take out the scene with the big guy trying to laser the torch snake. That was like when she first learns how to use her eye lasers, and then he picks up the torch snake and tries to use his, and he can't. Like, that was like a high point as a kid, and it's just gone from the Donner cut. I'm like, it's 4 seconds. Why'd you have to take it out? And then let's see here. Superman's a cheap bastard. Make dinner for Lois at the Fortress of Solitude, and what do you serve her for champagne? Paul Masson. For shame.
Oh, man.
The French.
The French.
It couldn't have been Andre.
Paul Masson's not much better.
No,
you
no,
Gallo,
no,
you know this.
No, I know.
Okay, so Superman just comes off as a total douche in the argument with the projector of Marlon Brando. The problem with the way this movie was cut, it seems like Superman has spent maybe 3 weeks saving humanity, and now all of a sudden he wants to throw it all away. It just makes the movie utterly ridiculous. The movie should have been called Superman 2: The Quest for Pussy.
I mean, I felt a little bit of that.
The sequence in the theatrical cut when his powers are removed, it looked so much better with it goes like the scan over his skull and the special effects that they use when he loses his power. I liked it more in the theatrical cut than just, oh, red light. Okay, now I don't have powers anymore. Like, okay, I don't agree with the whole he walks out and he's in human clothes, but still, like the special effects that they used for that sequence in the theatrical was much better. Practical effects gave it an air of sci-fi horror. The red light just looked cheap. Marlon Brando giving side eye to Lois up on the rim just comes off so catty and cheesy. Like you're a projection. It was like, yeah, this bitch. Huge continuity error in both this and the theatrical cut. After he's been turned human once again, how the hell did they get back home from the Fortress of Solitude? Apparently there's a Hertz rent-a-car at the North Pole. Like both versions. Like at least Lex had a balloon and then snowmobiles.
Oh, the balloon.
And that's another thing. Both theatrical and the Miss Tessmacher just fucking disappears.
Mm-hmm.
But at least in the Donner cut we get toilet humor out of it.
Oh, can I interject something with Miss Tessmacher?
Yes.
Is it just me, or do they code Lex as gay throughout these movies? Because he has these wigs. He's in jail, and he says to an inmate, "I want my Liberace album back."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Miss Tessmacher, she only kisses one man in this whole franchise.
That's
Superman.
Yep.
So. I was like, what are they trying to tell something with Lex? But again, I digress on that.
Yep.
I kind of thought that.
Yep. Human Clark would be dead from hypothermia 3 miles into the Arctic hitchhiking back. The extended fight sequences in the big fight scene just make it drag forever. Like, I'm sorry, but like, the fights, the whole fight scene in Times Square or whatever, Metropolis Square, just it seemed like more action and grabbing in the theatrical. The added stuff I was just like, are we done yet? Are you gonna fly away now? Like, I'm just waiting for it. Like, we're gonna attack the people, and then like that's the one of the both cuts I can't stand when like they realize it's just like, oh, let's just attack the humans, and he's like, no, the people. Like, bro, is that your best? Was that the best take? And then, oh yeah, the people of Metropolis are utter morons. I know this is the predecessor to the scene in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man where everyone starts throwing garbage at the Green Goblin. However, this is totally different. You have three beings that have taken out armies and the crowd says, "Oh, he killed Superman. Let's go after them with baseball bats." Literally ridiculous. Like they have been conquering Earth and they're like, "Superman's dead. I got a rock." What the they were just blowing you people halfway across the city without you. What are you gonna do? And here's what's really bad. When I was taking notes for this, I was just using voice to text on my Google Docs, and it was like when I was watching this, it was like 1:30 in the morning. Wifey was asleep, so I don't want to be loud. So I'm talking like this, and just the tone of my voice, it knew that I was yelling. The reversing the planet again is worse than the memory kiss. You can't have him reverse everything else on the planet, but still be able to go back to the diner to fight the guy again, especially when the owner says he just had to pay to fix the place up, because if you reverse the entire planet, then the place would have never been wrecked in the first place. This is fucking ridiculous. Not to mention he wouldn't know who the fuck he is, because you reversed everything. So it's like, who's this guy that shows up and beats the fuck out of this trucker for no goddamn reason? Not to mention that if you reverse it 5 fucking days, guess what? You laser blast in the Fortress of Solitude, which is some fucking John Peters bullshit. Guess what? It would be rebuilt because you just reversed the Earth. Not to mention, oh, guess what? You can't have Superman Returns because if you reverse the Earth, your sperm went back inside you. Lois ain't pregnant, motherfucker. Like, I don't like the memory kiss. No one likes the memory kiss, but the cop out of the reverse, and the first time he reversed it, it was like 4 minutes. This is 5-6 fucking days. And it's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, everything's perfectly fine. No, like it gave a better air in the theatrical, where like Superman shows up at the White House and fucking apologizes to the president and shit. Like there was a better air at the end. Like, yes, I don't agree. I don't agree with the roofie kiss. Like no one does, but the reversing is just worse. I'm sorry. I can't stand this fucking movie. I can't fucking do it.
So high praises from Joe.
Yeah, right. All
right, dealer.
All right. Yeah, I guess I have some explaining to do. All of your arguments, Joe, are valid. I respect your opinion. No. The reason I chose this movie is not because I love it. It's not because I think it's some masterpiece. I chose it because I find its existence to be fascinating.
Okay.
That there was all this footage that was like legendary, and it was only like rumored. Oh, did you know there's this whole sequence at the beginning where Lois jumps out of the window?
In Europe, yeah.
And I remember reading an article in Entertainment Magazine a long time ago, and they were talking about the rumors of this existing. This is before it even came out. And it mentioned something called the Superman Restored International Cut, which I tracked down and purchased on a bootleg DVD, which is Superman 2 with every single deleted scene from every TV edit, from everything. But oddly enough, none of these deleted scenes, none of this extra footage was from the Donner cut. So I've got this like 3-hour cut of Superman 2, and it's a totally different viewing experience than watching the theatrical or the Donner cut. And I think it's highly flawed. The movie's this cut is highly, highly flawed. However, I think somewhere someone could make one hell of a fan edit of both the theatrical and the Donner cut and come up with something near perfect as a movie.
Schneider cut.
And there's stuff like the Brando scenes that, I mean, for my money, I'll take the Brando scenes over the scenes with Clark's mother.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and things like that it's just the ending is problematic, because the ending of Superman 2, the Donner cut, was the temp ending for the movie. That was the original ending for Superman 2, and they thought it was so good, even though it's really, really stupid, that they put it at the end of the first movie. So when they were making the second movie, they didn't have an ending.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the same thing happens twice, because they shot it for part 2, and they were like, well, we'll figure it out later. We still have a lot of shooting to do.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense.
Yep. So I have seen this cut a lot more than I've seen the theatrical cut. And I think both are decent. Like Joe, like you're saying, there's a lot of stupid continuity errors, like the dude in the diner. It's such a stupid note to end that cut on.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense. It's not even like, oh, I'm glad they wrapped up that plot line. It's just, why is it there?
Right. This guy's like, I know I'm an asshole, but I've never seen this guy in my life, and he's kicking my ass.
Exactly. Exactly. And I do blame Richard Donner for that, because he didn't assemble this. He had hired an editor to do it, and he oversaw it. And I think this editor was making some bad choices, and I think Richard Donner was just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those of you who are interested in viewing, you can currently rent it on Amazon Prime Video, rent it on YouTube, Fandango at Home, Apple TV, and Google Play Movies. They are available for rent for various. I think they're all around the same price on each of them. I think it's around like $4 or $5 to rent. So if you want to spend the $5, feel free. Personally, I hope I never end up watching this again.
You can also find it in the dollar bin at FYE.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, it was when I was looking up, I actually found there's actually someone that's got a VHS copy of Meet the Feebles on Amazon for like $100. I'm like, damn.
I just looked. I was like, oh, the Donner Cut is not on HBO Max. I guess it's called Max.
Yeah, it's not on Max.
It's not on Max, and guess what? It's probably because they would have to pay
Marlon Brando's estate.
Well, not just Marlon Brando, but other royalties. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
And the thing, like you said, the thing about Margot Kidder. See, as far as the original Superman movies, I'm sorry, Annette O'Toole all day, and Mariel Hemingway all day over Margot Kidder. I'm sorry, that's just me.
I wasn't comparing, but
it's just I prefer Annette O'Toole as Lana Lang over Margot as Lois. Like, and I think that's why they cast her as Ma Kent in Smallville years later. Yeah. All right. So before we get to the last one, it's time to pay the bills. Because it might as well like the people. So just as this episode of Wildcard Cinema, as everything else on the Full Circle Radio Network currently, we are sponsored by EpicShirts.ca. We don't just make shirts, we make Epic Shirts. Go to EpicShirts.ca with the link that you can find below, or just go to the site and at checkout, use the promo code Full Circle Radio, all one word, and you will receive 10% off your order. Not just your initial order, but all your orders. If you're a fan of anything from music to wrestling to MMA to movies, I actually pulled up a couple different ones they did. They got this nice Rocky Montage shirt they got. Or if you want to go for the classic Cobra Kai shirt, they got that. Actually, and after the discount, that'll only run you about $16. Or even if you want to go a little obscure, they got a nice Untamed Heart shirt for Gary Oldman fans out there. I don't know if I'd ever get a shirt for it, but I mean, it's good to know that there's that option. So yeah, that is EpicShirts.ca. So it's time to get on to our final movie choice of the episode, and that would be mine. And that would be a little movie known as The Angel Share. Here we go.
When all passengers stand back from the edge of the platform. You with the trainers on. You with the blue tracksuit.
Stand back?
That's right, you heard me. Stand back.
If you say so, pal. Oh, shit!
See? Look what you've done now, you imbecile.
Your record is appalling. For much of your short life, you have behaved like a thug. I sentence you to 300 hours of community payback.
Happy birthday, wee man.
I want you to be a real father to my child. Who's got a sensitive nose?
I'll get it.
Now, every year, about 2% of the spirit evaporates into thin air. It's what we call the angel share.
One whiskey. I want you to try and describe it.
You've
got a very good nose. The most incredible whiskey which will come to auction.
This could be a big chance to make money, Robbie.
If I get caught doing anything like that, I get 5 years at least.
Where shall not be moved? Barry Conley, Robert the Bruce, Braveheart, you bastard!
How are we going to get away there?
And then when we get it, who's going to take it for scum like us?
There's one camera, one alarm.
920. £1 million.
What is that? That's air.
That's Edinburgh Castle.
Then what did they put up there for?
Are you checking the fish?
So yeah. Is everyone back I want to make sure now everyone's muted again.
I'm back.
I'm good.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Didn't want more technical difficulties. So yeah. So dealer's choice for this one. I guess since both of you waited to the end, I'll start at the beginning. So I randomly saw the trailer for this. We were me and wifey were out at a movie at the movie theater down on Crown Street in New Haven when it was still there. And we saw this trailer and we're like, that looks interesting. Let's keep an eye out. And luckily, it was released in 2012. It didn't actually come to the States until April of 2013. But we went and saw we went and saw it at the Crown Street Theater. It was, it became a comfort movie for me. It really struck me the first time we watched it. And it just, it's one of those movies that like, I think not enough people know about. And I think that more people should watch because it's got a little bit of everything in it. It's got some hilarious parts, but it's got some super serious parts. It's not a really cliched movie. And a lot of certain parts hit home for me. So that's why I chose it. So gentlemen, I will leave it to you. Whichever one of you wants to go first.
I'll go. I adored this movie. I really, really liked it. And I'd seen it before. Joe, you made me watch this a long time ago, and I loved it then, and I love it now. I think the casting and the acting are so freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
Every single character is played amazingly well. I found that very impressive. I will say this, though. It's not often that I come across a movie that is shot in English, but requires subtitles for the entire
Yeah, that's one of my notes.
I'm thinking maybe Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas would be another one, but, such is the beauty of the Glasgow accent, although to me, I'd say it sounds more like a bunch of people who just had a series of strokes and now they're all trying to communicate with each other.
I'm there with you. I'm there.
I mean, it's like they go out of their way to mispronounce things. It's really obnoxious. But if you can get past that, such a good movie. Such a good movie. I did wonder after a while where it was going. I liked it. It kind of kept you guessing. Like what's Robbie gonna do here? He's at a fork in the road in his life, and is he gonna continue being a piece of garbage, or is he going to get his life together? And in the end, like, you really, really root for this character, and in the end, he kind of chooses to continue being a piece of garbage. Like he steals the whiskey. Spoiler alert.
But he does it for a reason, and it's a means to an end to get out of that vicious cycle.
I agree with that. I see what you're saying, but explain that to, the uncles or whatever of his girlfriend. The guys who are always trying to beat him up. Is that who that was? The uncles or?
So the uncles are beating him up, and there's a group of soccer hooligans who are after him because he kicked their asses once.
Yeah, and in the court, they were in the first scene in the court. Explain that to them. They hate his guts. They know what he did in life. They know all the terrible choices and how he's hot-headed and dishonest and all this other stuff. And then explain to them, he's trying to get his life together to take better care of your sister. He's doing it by committing a crime.
But they don't know about the heist. All they know is that he got a job in something that he had been studying for a while.
We know about the heist. That's what I'm saying.
But they don't. There's a difference.
Okay, but I'm not really criticizing it for that. I'm just pointing out that it's not really where I thought it was going to wind up. It's a really interesting story and definitely worth a watch. That's it.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm with Mark. Loved it. Also, you don't know where it's going totally. Because I will say the opening scene, definitely. What do you think when you watch the opening scene? Another movie?
I think it's going to be some raunchy comedy.
Well, I thought it was going to be, Train Spotting. It's the train sound right from the beginning, the accents. It's, in fact, I would call the first 2/3 of the movie Train Spotting meets Sideways, sans heroin, replacing wine with whiskey.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And
before it turns into Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think without the heist, it's a fine movie. It feels something a little derivative at that point. Without the heist, it would feel that way. This does not at all, because especially the way the heist is pulled off. I mean, and to the point that, I'm in the liquor business.
I used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You if you steal liquid out of a barrel like that, the way they do, and they don't steal the barrel, they steal liquid out of the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like they're measuring it. It doesn't look like it's
Right.
scale. They're getting off scot clean as long as they don't get caught.
Right.
But I also do agree with Mark. I mean, he is still committing crime, which I understand. It's a means to an end, because you're right. He gets that job, which is, huge. But there would have also been a little ways to go about it where you say, all right, I'm going to just get this job because I know my shit. And he does. I mean,
but that's a lot harder to do.
Totally understandable. I mean, I understand that.
Harder than a heist?
Yeah, I mean, I had less problems with that part of it, but I understand Mark's point. I mean, he's still, so what's to say that he gets the job and then the promotion is him? I gotta put some coke in a guy's bag to get a promotion. You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't see it going that route.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't either. I think once he's in, and he'll just work his ass off because he's, he knows what he's doing, and he's good. But again, you could do that. I mean, because he's done this. I mean, you don't know. So I somewhat agree with Mark with that. I see that side of it, but overall, I mean, I gotta say, this movie is why I was very excited to join the podcast, because I hope I see things I've never heard of. Because as well as I think I do know movies and seen a lot of movies, and I listen to a ton of podcasts, so I get recommendations. Oh, you watch this. That's things I've never heard of. This I had never heard of, period. Yeah. If I don't do this podcast, I never see this movie. I never hear of it. I never watch it.
Unless, like, I mention it to you in passing in a DM sometime.
Even then, you say, hey, this, and I'm like, okay, cool. Because I mean, I'm sure you've talked about a movie that I was like, yeah, I'll check that out, and I put it on a watch list, and my watch list is huge.
Right.
It's just, it's my watch list is only as good as me going through it. I mean, right now it kind of just sits in the ether. I mean, there's so much stuff every week. I'm like, streaming. This is streaming. I watch this. I watch that. I watched The Teacher's Lounge last night because it's on Netflix, and it was a international feature Oscar nomination. So I watched that. But this I'm just never getting to without this. So this is I'm really happy that there's at least one movie that I've never heard of. I'm sure there will be a few others, so I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, this is a good one for me. I was definitely I loved it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I have a few notes about this, but yeah. So it's amazing. When I was looking it up, it was directed by Ken Loach, who's done more British stuff than he has American, but he has a huge filmography. He's been directing since the 60s. U.S. release was until 2013. The gross worldwide box office total is about 13 million, but for the life of me, nowhere has what the budget for the movie was. So I'm not sure if it made money, lost money, whatnot.
Right.
I would have to say it made money, but
I would hope so. Yeah. My first note was subtitles are preferred when watching this movie, and that's the way it's always been.
Can I touch back on that? I forgot to mention that. Mark said it's one of the few he had. I almost put the subtitles on, I watched a movie this year that's gotten a lot of buzz. It's called How to Have Sex, and I did turn subtitles on to that because for the first I was like, it's really tough to hear, but they're just girls kind of shit talking each other. I don't really need to do it. And then the movie takes a turn where you better start paying attention.
Yeah.
And then I had to turn on subtitles. So I didn't do it with this movie. I actually think I tried, but because it was on the box, I was.
All you need to do for future reference is go down to hit your arrow down where the play and the advanced thing. Go all the way to the left. There's a little icon for captions, and it'll take you to an open web source for a whole bunch of different sites.
Yeah, so I think so. I was almost there, but yeah, but both of you guys totally valid. It's definitely preferred subtitles.
Yeah. Let's see here. The things I really like is it eases in and you feel like it's going to be one of those mentor helps the local riffraff cliches, but then it works its way into a whole bunch of different things. It really shows a staunch difference in the criminal justice system between here and the UK and how they actually work towards rehabilitation and not just jailing.
Yeah.
I think we've all had a situation like the one with Dougie during the whiskey tasting at the flat, where you've got the one drunk friend who's not, or like the one friend who's like not paying attention and like picks up the jar and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I know I've been in situations where I was like, dude, bro, what are you doing? I know the father-in-law figure in it all too well. And I think that's why I keep going back to this movie. Lonnie's father, the club owner, just because it's 14 years together, and her father still acts the same way to me. So literally, and the thing that you mentioned about it's literally at the 52-minute mark, which is more than halfway through the movie, before the plot device of the malt mill is introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it really gives time to flesh out the characters and the settings. One thing that I have very few pet peeves about this movie. One thing, the biggest pet peeve, and this is because as someone who's worked in the liquor industry and as someone who was looking to become a cicerone at one time until I realized the insane amount of shit you have to go through to do it. Rory McAllister, the guy who did the whiskey tasting and then was the guy who was there to test the barrel before the day before the auction. The fact that right after he does the taste, he goes outside and has a cigarette.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Fucking pisses me off.
That was really weird.
Like, if you are
just in the background too. Yeah.
Because I didn't really like my taste buds did not awaken until months upon months after I finally quit smoking fucking 13, 14 years ago. You need to have a clear palate for that. And I was just like, no, that's the one pet peeve.
Can I just jump in here and say something real quick about that character?
Yes.
That actor, I thought he was so perfect for that role. His name is Charles McLean. I looked it up. Mm-hmm. He's an actual whiskey expert.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
wow.
They gave him the script before they shot to make sure everything was kosher.
Mm.
And then they cast him in the movie, and he's so perfect. I love it. The casting is just so great in this.
So that makes me even more pissed off because he's an actual whiskey taster, and he's bro. Yes, this has a very smoky undertone. That was your fucking Newport, jackass.
Yeah.
That casting is similar to Full Metal Jacket. So
yes, with Arlie Ermey. Yeah.
That's great. That's a great tidbit.
Yeah. One other little pet peeve for me is, you think a guy who can drop over $1 million on a cask of whiskey could afford a hair transplant? And especially because that was such a terrible comb over, and then he throws on a Red Sox hat and he's from fucking Westport. I'm like, of course you got bro. Yeah, of course you're from Westport. You couldn't be I knew you were going to be from Westport, Darien, or Greenwich. You were going to be from one of them, because if you lived in Boston, you wouldn't have that much money. And then the only other note that I have, which is just, it's like I said, it's not really a pet peeve, but it's just they really got their money's worth out of using that Proclaimer song.
Oh yeah.
One of my least favorite.
Years later, watching it, that song will always give me flashbacks to How I Met Your Mother. Because I don't know, like, if either of you ever watched the series, which is a great series up until the last few episodes. In it, Jason Segel's character has a Pontiac Fiero that he's had since he was a teenager, but unfortunately the tape deck in it is broken, and the tape that's in it is the cassette single of Proclaimers 500 Miles. So that's all that ever plays. And like, there's times where they're going on road trips and it shows how like partial time they're singing along with it, and then they're like, I hate this fucking song, I hate this fucking song. And then they're like singing it at the top of their lungs again because it's like a psyop on repeat.
I have seen How I Met Your Mother, but I probably blocked it out because I hate that song. I mean, they played it at like school dances, and like, I was like, oh, this is awful. It's so bad.
One of the best gags in that show though was the episode where he has to like he has to junk the car because it's had its lifetime because it was his brother's before his, and it's got like 500,000 miles, and it's time to just let it go to the junkyard. And he's just sitting there, and he goes and he says goodbye to it, and he taps it on the dashboard, and the tape pops out.
No. That's funny.
Yeah, it was a nice little gag. But yeah, let me pull this up. But for anyone who is interested in watching The Angel Share, you can currently watch it for free on the Roku channel with ads. It's on YouTube. Yeah, you can rent it on YouTube.
You can watch it for free on YouTube.
I didn't have that link, but it's free on the Roku channel as well. You can also rent it on Google Play Movies, on Amazon Prime Video, and on Apple TV. So that is all the movies for the first episode. So now we need to choose our poison for the next episode, gentlemen.
All right.
Remember, poker faces.
Sorry.
Poker faces.
Noted.
Gotcha. All right. Mark, what did you get?
Tourist Trap, 1979.
Okay. Greg?
Before I open mine, which is it's a little stuck. I have never seen that movie. I don't know if I should say that again. But
no, Poker Face.
Poker Face. Okay. My fault.
That's okay.
I'll go to mine. It is Justice League, the Snyder Cut. No, I'm kidding. No. No. I have Gremlins 2, the new batch from 1996.
All right. And the one that I drew is Ralph Bakshi's American Pop from 1981. I will put those into the queue for you, gentlemen. Also, one other rule that I didn't abide, that I forgot to mention on the last one is we obviously, and I think it's just an undertone, is a mulligan rule. If one of us ever has one that like we draw a name, we draw a movie title, and someone else has it in their jar that they know of, you can replace it. Like obviously, like it's simple mulligan rule.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. Otherwise, we would be like, oh shit, we would be asked out. So yeah, so it's always good to have it like an alternate or two on backup just in case. But yeah. So that all being said, I think we got everything good in the first episode, and we're finishing in record time. Perfect, because I got to be out the door in about 10 minutes. All right, gentlemen, it was a pleasure. I think we had some good banter going for it, and can't wait to do this again in 2 weeks.
Totally.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Wildcard Cinema, and we hope to see you at the movies. I don't know, that sounds fucking cheesy. I don't know. I'll figure out a better line. I'm new at this part. Give me a break. All right, and then let's lead out.